In this video, we're going to talk about publishing data to Wonderware Online. And Wonderware Online is basically Wonderware's historian that's running in the cloud. We can connect to a lot of different data sources and pump that data to Wonderware Online and make that data available in charts and dashboards and reports for a lot of different users that you have at your sites. The creation of dashboards and charts is covered in another video that we have in this series, but in this video we're going to talk specifically about how to get data into Wonderware Online from a lot of these different data sources. As you can see on the screen, we're going to talk specifically about how to get data from InTouch, how to get data from a Wonderware Tier 1 historian, how to get data from an InTouch Machine Edition, and how we get data directly from an OI server, an IO server that can publish data up to Wonderware Online. And we also can accept CSV imports. So let's drill into each one of these examples here and talk about how we can get data up to Wonderware Online. So shown on the screen is an example dashboard that can be put together. These data sources have already been configured and there's data being pumped into this dashboard. All these dashboards are drillable. If I drill into this Station 1 KPI, I can see a little more detail, or I can go look at a line chart. I can go look at the last hour or go look at today's data. So as you can see, very interactive type charts that can be used to get the data to a lot of different users that need that data. So we're going to drill in specifically how do we get data from a lot of these different data sources that we have available to Wonderware Online Historian. So let's show you how we can get data from a classic InTouch application and get that data up to Wonderware Online. So if I look at a tag, any tag, I have to make sure this checkbox is checked here where it says log data. So this product level tag will be logged to Wonderware Online. If I look at my good old reactor level tag, I had this checkbox checked. So any tag, discrete or analog variable, if I check that box, when I configure the publisher, it'll look for those tags that have that checkbox checked and will push that data up to Wonderware Online. So the next thing we're going to need to do is download the Historian Publisher. We can go to the Wonderware Online website and download that tool. So I'm going to log into Wonderware Online Insight. I already have an account set up here. If you don't have an account, you can set one up. I'm going to go here to Administration, and I'm going to go to Downloads, and I'm going to download the Historian Publisher. I've already done that, but just download that, and then we're going to install that on that local InTouch application to be able to publish data up to Wonderware Online. So we've installed the Historian Publisher on this local machine. Now I'm going to run that. I need to have my InTouch application running because it's going to connect to that tag name database and connect to those tags and push them up to Wonderware Online. So I'm going to run the Historian Publisher, and I'm going to say I want to publish data from InTouch. So now I'm going to log in to Wonderware Online. So with my account, I'm going to log in. So I'm logging into Wonderware Online. It sees I have a couple different projects or solutions that I want to use here. I'm going to pick my IoT data and give it a name. I'm going to say my InTouch data. And I'm going to say publish. So what it's doing, it's taking that tag name dictionary, the tags that I have checked for logging that data, and it's going to start having a streaming connection from this local InTouch application up to Wonderware Online. If you wait a little bit, it's going to say your application data has been published. Then we can log into Wonderware Online Insight and make sure we have that data being streamed in from this InTouch application. So we can now verify that data is indeed being published up from that InTouch application. So if I log back into Wonderware Online, if I go to Data Sources under Administration, I can see that data is indeed being published from that InTouch application from my local computer up to Wonderware Online. So now we have data being streamed up to Wonderware Online. Let's go take a look at some of that data. So if I go search for my InTouch and I say add all the tags, it's going to add all those tags that we configured inside that InTouch application that are being published up here. So if I go look at the last hour, you can see there's a snippet of data being pulled into the system. If I go look at the line chart view, there's another view of that data. I'm going to go change it to a custom time to make it fill up the entire page here. So I'm going to go to, let's look at data from 1415 to 1440. I'm going to apply that. So there's my current data. I can do a refresh and you're going to see the live data is being streamed in right now. So if I continually hit that refresh, data is being pumped up from those InTouch applications. So as you can see, it's pretty straightforward getting data from a classic InTouch application, configure the historian publisher to pump the data up to Wonderware Online. Then that data is available in charts and dashboard for many different users who can take a look at your different processes. So next we're going to talk about how to get data from a historian up to Wonderware Online. If we have a local historian running at your plant, we want to push data to Wonderware Online and make it available to other users who have access to the internet, we can do that. So we're going to go through the configuration of how to take a tier 1 historian we have running at our local site and configure those tags to pump the data up to Wonderware Online. So I'm logged into my local tier 1 historian. You can see I have some simulated data being trended by the classic historian client. I'm going to use these simulation tags and pass that information up to Wonderware Online. So we'll go into the configuration and show you how to do that. So I'm in the system management console. I'm going to create the tags. They're going to be replicated up to Wonderware Online. So if I drill down in the system configuration, I click on replication servers. I'm going to right click and make a new replication server. I'm going to call it WWOnline, and I'm going to replicate this to Wonderware Online, and I'm going to register, and I have to log in to Wonderware Online. So it's going to ask me what application, what solution do I want to connect to. I want to connect to my IoT data. That's where the InTouch application was going. It's going to ask me for a name. I'll call it my T1 hist data, and I'm going to publish that data. So it came back with this connection information. So this is how this historian is going to connect up to Wonderware Online and pass the tags once we configure the tags. Next, the system is going to ask me some tag naming schemes. I'm going to take the defaults here. Also is going to ask me questions about store and forward parameters. Store and forward is the ability to, if I lose that connection to Wonderware Online, we're going to buffer that data locally and then pass the data up when the connection comes back. Also, I can limit the bandwidth if I don't want to chew up all my bandwidth pushing that data up to Wonderware Online. So I'm going to take the defaults here. So now I'm going to add the tags that are going to be pushed up to Wonderware Online. So if I right click on simple replication, I'm going to say select multiple tags. I'm going to put a filter in here, pick station 0, and then find those tags. So there are all those tags that were associated with those different stations. So I'm going to basically take all these tags here, select them all, and say push them over to the other side and say OK. And they're the tags, and I apply that, and I say close. The next thing I need to do is commit those changes, so the historian will take these tags and start replicating them up to Wonderware Online. So if I say commit pending changes, I can say commit, and it's going to take those database changes and commit them and hopefully start pushing that data. If I click on the replication here, you can see here Wonderware Online. I previously had a Wonderware Online defined here. There's the new WW Online, and then it's going to replicate the data. So now it's starting to replicate that data up to Wonderware Online. So now the system is telling me I'm replicating 16 tags up to Wonderware Online, that previous replication server that we created. So indeed, it's pushing data up there right now. So if I log back into Historian Insight, I go to Administration, I go to Data Sources, and you can see that my T1 hist data is being published up from that Tier 1 historian. So now I can search for those tags that were published up there. So if I go search for station 001, it's going to find station 001 tags, and there they are. There's my current values, and there's a little thumbnail. If I go over here to the latest hour, there's some data coming up from station 001. If I want to go look at that in a line chart, I can do that. So a little bit of data coming in because I just started publishing that data. If I want to clear that out, and I'm going to go look for station 002, I can look at those tags to verify that they're there. If I want to look for all those tags, station 0, just type that, and there they are. I got add all. So it didn't add all of them on the chart, but I have the ability to go pick all those different tags, so I can go down here and choose those additional tags to add them to my chart. So you can see there are all the tags station 1 through 4, the temperature, pressure, flow. I also have a pump run status there. So then I could go here, if I want to put them in a line chart, I can do that. You can see a line chart of that data, look at the latest hour. So there's all that data that came from that tier 1 historian, how easy it is to replicate that data. Once you have it up there, anybody that has a web browser can go start taking a look at this data. Next, we're going to show you how to get data up from InTouch Machine Edition. InTouch Machine Edition is geared toward the panel PCs out there on your plant floor, the local HMIs. Lower cost than a full-blown InTouch application, but we still have that ability to take that data from an InTouch Machine Edition and pass that up to Wonderware Online. So here I have InTouch Machine Edition running, and you can see I have some tags that are trending some data locally on the panel PC. We're going to go configure those tags to push up to Wonderware Online. So the first thing we're going to need to do is point the InTouch Machine Edition node up to the Wonderware Online database. So basically I need to run this utility, the Studio Database Gateway. It's at this location. I have a shortcut on my desktop that I'm going to run that utility. And we're going to go into it and we're going to configure Wonderware Online. I'm going to say Wonderware Online Connections. I'm going to call it WW Online. I'm going to add that. It's going to ask me to sign in to my Wonderware Online account. So it's making a connection to Wonderware Online. It's going to ask me my solution I want to connect to. And it's going to ask me the name of the data that I want to put up there. Call it my ME data. And publish that. And it's publishing data up to Wonderware Online as we speak. And it's finished. So the next thing we need to do is go into the actually trend configuration. So if we go down the bottom and pick tasks, open up our trend, we have a trend file already created here. This is currently set up for proprietary history format. We're going to go down here and also configure the historian configuration, Wonderware Historian. Historian configuration, we're going to make it Wonderware Online. We're going to point it to WW Online. That's the tag that we created before that's pointing up to the Wonderware Online server. We can give it a prefix if we want to add some characters in front of the tag so we can recognize them when we get to Wonderware Online. We can do that. We can enable store and forward. If we lose the connection to InTouch Machine Edition, we're going to buffer that data locally. We also can have some tags if we want to monitor the status of the connection between Wonderware Online and Machine Edition. And another tag here that we can put in that'll reinitialize the communications between Machine Edition and Online. It's asking the IP address of the gateway we previously configured. This is the local IP address. We're going to take that and we're going to take the default port number here. So we're going to say OK. We're going to close down this trend and we're going to say save those changes, yes. And then we can minimize the development environment and we're going to run the InTouch Machine Edition runtime implementation. So Machine Edition is running. I can go look at some local trends just to see that we have some data being logged into the system. So system is running, some tags are generating some data. Therefore, we should be publishing data up to Wonderware Online at this point. So we log back into Wonderware Online. We're going to go to Administration. We're going to go to Data Sources, verify that the data is being pushed up from Machine Edition. As you can see, there's my ME data. So data is being pushed up to Wonderware Online from Machine Edition. So let's go see if we can find those new tags on Wonderware Online. So if you remember, I labeled everything with my. So there's, my tier 1 history data we talked about, my InTouch data, and here's my ME data. And if I click on that, there are some tags coming up from ME. Remember, the prefix that we put on was ME that we put on the beginning to distinguish that data. We look at the last hour, we can start seeing some data being streamed in here. Doesn't look like all our tags were added, so we can go add these additional tags to our trend here. And you can see the data. Let's go into a line chart. And you can see that looks pretty nasty actually. So we're going to change our format and put that into a stacked axis. So you can see that there's the actual data coming up from that InTouch Machine Edition. Let's change the time horizon so it gives us more data on the screen. So we're going to pick a different time horizon and go take a look at the data. And you can see the data now is shown on our display. I can do a refresh. You can see that live data is being streamed in here. So if I constantly hit the refresh here, Data is constantly being streamed up from that InTouch Machine Edition node we have out there that's bringing data up into our Wonderware Online. So a great tool to be able to have Machine Edition out there as an edge device. You have that local control panel. You can also use it just as an edge device to bring data to Wonderware Online. It's a very cost-effective solution to be able to capture some data from local devices and push the data up to Wonderware Online. Next, we're going to talk about how to get data directly from an OI server, or basically one of our drivers, to push data directly to Wonderware Online. We don't need any other piece of software to do that. Basically, an IO server, the Wonderware Historian Publisher, we can configure that, and it's going to start streaming data up to Wonderware Online. So let's take a look at this configuration here for the OI servers. So the first thing we need is make sure we have the OI servers installed, basically the next generation of IO drivers from Wonderware. In this case, I'm going to talk to an Allen Bradley Compact Logic PLC. I'm going to install the ABCIP driver. If we look at the configuration, you can see there's the IP address of that PLC. We're going to have to create a backplane, and then we actually go through here and give it a device group and give it a poll time. If I drill down into diagnostics, you can see we are indeed getting data from this Allen Bradley device. A couple little simulated tank systems we have here, some levels and some valves going on and off. So there is good live data being pushed from this Allen Bradley PLC. So I also have the Modbus TCP OI server installed here. So let's take a look at that configuration. We're going to talk to a PowerLogic power meter. You can see there's a TCP IP port we need to create, and there is that Power Monitor 8000. Basically, there's the IP address. We take the defaults for this TSX Premium type device. We look at device groups, give it a name of PM and an update time of 2 seconds. If we drill into the diagnostics of this device and we look at the power meter, we can see there's the Modbus registers that we're polling, and there's some live data coming in from that power meter, basically some voltages and a power factor. So the next thing we're going to need to do is configure the Historian Publisher. As you remember, on the InTouch portion of this video, we downloaded the Historian Publisher and is going to connect that to our devices. In this case, we're going to import an XML configuration. So we'll have to configure an XML file that's going to point to the tags that we want to push up to Wonderware Online. There's an example XML file. When you download the Historian Publisher, at the root directory, there's an example file that we can look at and use that to base our real tags on. So here's the configuration for the power meter that we were just looking at inside the IO server. So we give it a tag name, we give it a description, we give it the data type, engineering units, min-max. We give it the name of the actual driver. So localhost is where that Modbus TCP driver is, and we give it the topic name and we give it the item name, the actual Modbus register. Here's the actual power factor. It's a different Modbus register, but we're again pulling the data from that Modbus TCP driver. If you remember, we also had an Allen Bradley PLC. We're going to use the ABCIP driver, which is on the local computer that we're running here. And there's the actual name of the register we're going to pull from that Allen Bradley PLC. So basically, you need to configure this XML file for all the tags that you want to push up to Wonderware Online. So let's import that XML file that we were just looking at. So if I go down to the directory where that XML file is, I go to my directory, I'm going to pick this XML file, I'm going to say open, I'm going to have to log into Wonderware Online. It's going to ask me what solution I want to push my data into. Now it's going to ask me what do I want to call my data. Call it my IO data and publish it. So it says that my application data was published. Now let's go take a look at Wonderware Online and make sure that the data is indeed being streamed online. So if I log into Wonderware Online and go to my data sources, you can see that my IO data is being pushed up from those IO servers that we configured. So let's go take a look at some of those IO server tags that are being pushed up from the IO servers. So there's some of the tags. I have to go select the rest of them to bring them onto the screen. And you can see there's live data coming up from the IO servers. There's the current value. There's a little thumbnail of the data. If I go look at the last hour, you see a bit more data there. I'm going to go into a trend mode here so I can see more of the data. I'm going to go stack those traces so it looks better on the screen. And then we'll go look at a different time horizon just so we can see a little bit more data on the screen. At this point, I'm streaming live data up. If I do a refresh on my screen here, you'll see it is getting new data being pumped up from the I/O server directly. So the idea is we just have to have an I/O server running and a historian publisher on this little box that I'm using to push the data. I'm running an Uno 2271G. It's about the size of a Raspberry Pi, very small footprint application that I can have and have that running out there on my edge if I want to connect to stranded assets and push data up to Wonderware Online. Next, we're going to talk about how to get data in from a CSV file. A lot of times you have other systems out there generating data that you want to look at and correlate that data with your live process data coming automatically. Things like laboratory systems where you're taking samples and you want to look at that data on Wonderware Online. We can export that data in a CSV format and import it to Wonderware Online and look at those two sources of data together. So let's take a look at how we configure a CSV import into Wonderware Online. So to import that CSV file, we go back into the administration tools. We click on data sources, and you can see here are the other data sources that we have configured that are getting data pushed to it. If we hit the plus sign here, we want to click on CSV JSON, and we're going to call it, my CSV tags, and say OK. Now this CSV data can be pushed to Wonderware Online, so we can push it to one of these websites here, and here's a token that we can use. We'll cover that in another video. But in this case, we're going to actually drop in a CSV file and have that data get imported into Wonderware Online. So we're going to download this sample file, and we're going to download it as a CSV file, and just going to click on that. So if we take a look at this CSV file, here's the format you need to follow when you want to create your own CSV file. Basically the timestamp, and then the actual tag name, and then the data underneath it. So pretty simple format to get data in this CSV file, and then we can use this to import it into Wonderware Online. So we're basically going to import that same CSV file. So if I go to my Downloads tab and I click on A Samples, you can see it's importing that data. There's a checkbox that says everything went fine. So you can see that my CSV tags have been imported. If I click on these three dots here, I can view the history. So it tells me that I have this sample CSV file was imported and the status is good, which means it imported all that data to Wonderware Online. So let's go back and look at this in one of our trend files. So let's go look for some of that CSV data. If I go to there's my CSV tags. There's 6 of those. I don't have them all selected. I'm going to pick this reactor temperature. So if I look at my data, there it is, data brought in by that CSV file. I'm going to go put that in, say, a line chart format, and I'll stack my traces. So how awesome is that I have this raw CSV file that I can bring it in and trend it along with any of my other tags that are being pushed automatically. So in conclusion, you can see I created a dashboard of data from all the data sources that we configured. We have data coming in from my Tier 1 historian. I have CSV data that we imported. InTouch data coming in. I have I/O data directly from I/O servers. InTouch Machine Edition coming in. The summary chart is a combination of a pen from each one of those different data sources. So as you can see, you can bring data into Wonderware Online from a lot of different data sources from different locations around the world or different plants and create these common dashboards to give you visibility of what's going on in your processes. Well, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please contact me at the email address on the screen. Thanks again.